Everybody out there.
Big Sal, cousin Sal.
And he joins us this morning. Sal, before we jump into it, I want you to take a listen to what you said on our show back on December 1st. And I know that's way back in 2020, a million years ago for most people. Just a reminder, Sal came on our show on a Monday morning. The previous day, the Eagles had lost to the Seahawks to fall to 3-7-1 on the season. They finished at 4-11-1. Here's what Sal said that Monday morning.
5 wins, doesn't make the playoffs, he probably survives. I don't think he survives 3 or 4. I don't. I just don't. I think it'll be too hot. I really do. I think it'll be too hot.
Morning, Sal. How you doing, bud?
Well, boy, oh boy, sometimes you get it right, I guess. But I just knew that it was going to be very difficult for this ownership to bring back Doug Pederson if they only got 3 or 4 wins. And when you look at it, gentlemen, I mean, they had a 4-win season. They finished 4th place in the worst division in football. 3 of the wins came against backup quarterbacks, and the 4th when the quarterback fell down and a Pro Bowl tight end dropped the game-sealing pass. So they looked really bad pretty much in every game and were spared in 4 games only because the other team was worse.
You know, they were 4-11. You did get it right. But what's your true reaction to the firing of Doug Pederson after a Super Bowl victory 3 years ago, a couple playoff appearances in a pandemic?
My reaction is the same as everybody else's reaction pretty much in Philadelphia, Key. A mixture of sadness and shock. And you just hit the nail on the head. This man 3 years ago brought a Super Bowl title, brought the Lombardi Trophy to Philadelphia after decades, and you know what it's like here on the I-95 corridor better than anybody. After decades of ineptness and failure and disappointment, epic disappointment. And he brought that Super Bowl title. He brought that Lombardi Trophy. He brought that parade to Broad Street. I covered it with Kevin Nagandi on SportsCenter, and it was really one of the highlights of my career, not because I'm an Eagles fan, I'm not, but because I know these Eagles fans, and they are the most passionate fans in the country. It's not sports here, Key. As you know, it's a way of life. You were in Veterans Stadium when you beat the Eagles and shut down Veterans Stadium in the NFC Championship game. And it sounded like it was the lunar landscape. You could hear a pin drop. The place was totally silent because people were in shock. And I think this morning there's the same level of shock because people do really like Doug Pederson in this town. They love him. But now where do you go from here? Why would you want this job? I asked you that question somewhat facetiously and somewhat rhetorically, but it's also true. You have an expensive and aging roster, absent of really any game-changing talent with the possible exception of Miles Sanders. The 2 Jalens, Rieger and Hurts, totally unproven. Your offensive line is broken. You used a league-high 13 offensive line combinations, 13 offensive line combinations in 2020. You have a GM who made a $136 million mistake and kept his job. You're in salary cap hell. You're handing the new head coach a quarterback controversy. I don't know whether this is an attractive job. I realize it's one of 32. Yeah. And someone wants it and someone will take it, but it's really a tough job to take.
Sal, let's point the finger now. Who's to blame? Let's point the finger. Somebody's got to be the blame, right?
Yep, somebody's got to be the blame, and everybody will say, well, it was organizational because they made these decisions together. But I think it comes down to personnel decisions and salary decisions. And I think that's where you have to point the finger at the front office.
Well, then, Sal, how does Howie Roseman get a pass?
I don't know, man. Hey, Jay, listen, if you or I were the CEO of a corporation and we made a $136 million mistake, we'd be out on our ear.
I just don't understand, and it seems the more and more we hear about this, Doug Pederson becomes the sacrificial lamb. What does this even mean for Carson Wentz? Is Carson Wentz a part of their future moving forward?
Well, the first question that owner Jeffrey Lurie has to have with any head coaching candidate is, what are we doing about the quarterback situation? And if I'm the head coach, my question back to him is, what are you doing about Carson Wentz? Are we trying to fix him, or are we trying to trade him? And that is an organizational decision, right? Lurie can't ask the next head coach to solve that problem. The head coach needs to know the answer to that going in. So let's keep it real here, right? Because it's Philly, and we don't want to do sort of absent-minded speculation, because this is not a college classroom. This is sports talk radio and, ESPN, and you got me on. So let's talk some real stuff here. Who's going to come in here? Are you telling me it's Mike Kafka, the quarterback's coach in Kansas City? Andy Reid and Jeffrey Lurie talk all the time? Is it Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator in Kansas City? Natural fit? Is it Brian Daboll, offensive coordinator in Buffalo, who's a Bob Lamont client, and so is Howie Roseman? And as you know, Bob Lamont likes to twin the GM and the coach together in the same building. But I'm hearing that Brian Daboll has serious interest with the Jets and with the Chargers. Is it Deuce Staley? He's in the building. He deserves a very, very close look. He's well-liked and respected in that locker room and by the ownership. So is it Lincoln Riley? Do you go outside the box? And do you ask Lincoln Riley, who coached Jalen Hurts to such acclaim in Oklahoma, hey, can I roll a $12 million a year check at you like Jacksonville is going to do with Urban Meyer, and will you come out of Oklahoma and coach this football team? I don't think that he will. I think there's a major long shot. But, that's the question that the coach is going to ask the owner, Jay, is, all right, this is on you. If you want to hand me this football team, you have to make this call on the quarterback. And you listened to Jeffrey Lurie yesterday, and he had a whole lot of doublespeak. There was a whole lot. There was a whole lot of. Let me rephrase that to be charitable about it. There was a whole lot of what we call natural ambiguity. Okay, he said that Doug Pederson didn't deserve to be let go, and then he let him go.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he referred to Carson Wentz as a quote-unquote asset.